So this video is about to be very negative, but I can't really help it. It's just that this game itself is kinda trash. What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, reviewing today Warcraft 3 Reforged. I've been playing this pretty much non-stop the last couple days, and I'm very confused by it. Pretty much everything that the developers promised would actually be in this game has actually been removed. To be quite frank, I actually regret buying it. This is the first time I've ever played a remake of a game where the original was drastically better. So what is this? Well, Warcraft 3 Reforged is really interesting because the developers themselves over at Blizzard have been very clear that this is not a remaster. This is more of a remake. What they've decided to do is go back into the original legendary real-time strategy game Warcraft 3 and actually rework a lot of it. The idea behind it was that after this game came out, obviously we had a bunch of Warcraft books and the World of Warcraft MMORPG, which kind of changed the story itself. And so the developers wanted to try and take this opportunity to go back and actually rewrite the characters in Warcraft 3, expanding the campaign, changing the art, doing a lot of stuff to try and update it. Like, here is an actual quote from the developers themselves. Reforged is actually our chance to really flesh characters out. We were unaware that we were going to have people blow up. Characters like Sylvanas Windrunner and Jaina Proudmoore. That to me makes it sound like they're actually adding on to the game itself, except for all of the stuff that was promised has now been cut. Yes, that's right, even the trailers that revealed a bunch of added scenes have actually been removed from the game itself, which means that me, as a person who purchased this game expecting added content, I got screwed over. Reforged is nothing. It is literally just a $30 freaking pack of basically updated character models. Yes, they managed to actually spruce up the graphics to a tiny degree, and yes, this is 4K now, but other than that, this is literally the same game from 2002. But wait, it's actually worse because of certain other aspects about it. One of the things that made Warcraft 3 just explosively successful back in the day was actually the fan-created content. People were actually going in here and using the creation tools to make their own custom campaigns and giant cool maps, and really, this actually ended up creating a bunch of new games. People actually went into this and really explored the ideas of game design and started making things like auto-battlers. Dota 2 was actually originally created inside of Warcraft 3. Well, guess what? All of that stuff has come back in Reforged. Except for just one little thing here, there is now a legal disclaimer that anything you do at all, anything in the world that's done with Warcraft 3 Reforged is the full intellectual and moral property of Blizzard. That means that even if you and your friends spend thousands of hours trying to craft a giant custom thing that you think would be really fun and you want to try and share with your buddies, all of that is now Blizzard property that they can just sell. But even skipping past that, I really want to focus on something very specifically, which is there is actually certain parts of this that work worse. The main thing being that there is no longer currently ladders. That means you cannot compare yourself to any of the other players. There's no way to actually rank yourself or see who is the best of the best. Let's talk about technical issues. By far the thing that annoys me the most is that this game runs like hot garbage. Not only do you run into frequent crashes when just trying to run the game itself, but there's just a myriad of very strange glitches. Like something I ran into is 80% of the time the sound would not work, and it couldn't even tell why. It's not like it was a weird thing where the game kept muting itself. The crashing, it was like the game itself would have its audio only crash. So I'd end up actually shutting the game down and rebooting it again and again until eventually I could hear the sound. And even when I did, I would actually get frustrated because they pretty much screwed up the audio design to a massive degree. One of the main things that they were bragging a bunch about in the Warcraft III Reforged is that they were saying, we're going to go back and actually re-record a bunch of the original audio. We're going to find the original voice actors and we're going to do everything to make sure this sounds nice and crisp and modern. Well, guess what? The new music, the new soundtrack, the new sound effects, and especially the new voices all sound very, very bad. I mean, a lot of times they've actually removed the sound in certain sections. So if there's like a time where a character is having a nice dramatic speech, in the Warcraft 3 version we had back in 2002, a lot of times you'd hear the swell of music and a pulse-pounding thunderclap to remind you that this is the epic story of the ages. Now, they've removed all of that. Pretty much all the fancy sound effects that existed in the game have been either turned off or basically muted. How do you make a game worse in 15 years, or not even that, 18 years, and you've managed to downgrade the experience itself? Getting past that for a second though, I do want to give them some credit to what I think is definitely the best. The new graphical overhaul is at times very, very nice. You're able to actually zoom in. They've redone a lot of things, like the actual character animations have been completely reworked. A lot of times the way people swing their hammers, or when you're actually in combat and trying to cast magic on your units, you're also able to zoom in to a very tight degree to see the individual character models. And all of this, I mean, full credit, I actually think that this stuff looks fantastic. Really, if you were just saying that this was going to be a 4K character pack, I wouldn't be nearly as annoyed. It's just the fact that everything else about this is so paltry paper thin. I ended up playing through almost the entire campaign, going through all the different chapters and stories, and again, I kept being perpetually annoyed that this wasn't just the original version of Warcraft 3. You know, when they came out with this game back in the day, it felt like it made a lot more sense. Now when you're playing this, especially blown up on a big screen, everything just looks a little bit muddy and weird at times. Like, one of the weirdest things is definitely the fact that they didn't actually reconfigure this to be more tailored to modern TVs. A lot of times when you're playing stuff now, most people have a like 25-inch monitor or like a 41-inch monitor. So because of it, every game these days actually has smaller fonts to make it where you can actually have more stuff on the screen at once. But instead, they decided to keep the original full UI. They claimed back in the original interviews that they were going to try and redo the entire heads-up display to make it a lot more clean and spiffy, but I guess that as well was cut because of the budget. Now, whenever people are trying to talk or there's like a new update to your mission objective, it is humongous bubble letters dead center of the screen, completely blocking your view. There are times where there's just so much random font obscuring the battlefield, it's hard to even see the updated graphics. And you know what really makes this the most frustrating part of all? It's not just the fact that I paid $30 for this game, it's not just that they have a fancier edition that's like $40 and doesn't really provide anything extra, it's the fact that the better game exists. They've actually said in interviews that they were working on all this expanded content that they kept promising us, and they decided to remove it because Blizzard cut their funding. That means that we could have actually had a good version of Reforged, or should I say, a true version of Reforged, instead of this crappy cash grab. Do not buy this game. Don't even rent it. If you had the ability to borrow it from a friend, I might suggest it, but even then, I still think that the original version, if you manage to find it somewhere on the internet, is actually better than this. Okay, so we've heard a ton of bad and a little bit of good, but let's go over to the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving Warcraft 3 Reforged a 4 out of 10. You know, I've never actually done this before, but I think I'm going to try and find a way to get a full-blown refund, because I don't even want to own this. I don't want it in my Blizzard library. This game is really that bad. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming of actual good remakes. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.